This is Ron, interview, take one, Mark.
Today, we're going to be talking to 4 privacy professionals who each have an incredibly unique perspective and who bring a lot to the table as part of the next generation. When we were trying to find folks to be part of this Next Gen Voices campaign, I was really looking for folks that came from a broader range of companies, backgrounds, industries, not just legal and compliance, but maybe product, maybe engineering, and really have that variety of expertise. Welcome to Next Gen Voices. Oh, thank God.
So I might steal that. Sorry, my voice cracked. I'll try one more time. Does that help? Oh. Yeah, there you go.
Can you write that? Can you get that? Was that recorded? Can I get a snippet of that?
I've been in privacy for, I'm going to age myself, for about 20 years now. My first job in privacy was in 2005 for a boutique privacy consulting firm based in Toronto. When people think about privacy, I think they think about rules and regulations, but at the core of it, I think it's about trust. For me personally, I think I'm motivated by the fact that there's a lot of consumers out there that don't have any idea what their rights to their data are. And I love educating normal consumers around what those rights truly are.
I've been working in privacy for a little over a decade. I've been a full-time privacy professional in my job for about 8 years. I am very motivated by the work I do in privacy and as a privacy professional because it has a profound impact on the lives of individuals and, frankly, on society as a whole. Freedom and democracy cannot exist without privacy. It is a fundamental human right because of the way that it can impact all of us on a small scale and a large scale.
I've been in privacy for about 9 years. I've been a practicing privacy attorney for 6, but have been involved in privacy advocacy for the past 9. In many ways, privacy is a lived experience. As a queer person, I knew all too well as a young person the importance of managing information, protecting that information, and understanding the consequences, that information and the flow of it could have on me and my own community. And in many ways, privacy law sort of offered a way to really institutionalize that work and to center back on, the impact on individuals.
I've been very lucky that it's where I started my career. I think I've always been very passionate about privacy from like a civil rights perspective, and just thinking about the notion of our rights as they relate to privacy and what that means in like the greater human context. And so for me, it felt like a natural calling, and I continue to feel very fortunate that I'm able to kind of blend my personal passion with something I do professionally.
I came into privacy from the lens of health sciences. I started off working at a big health tech vendor, and a lot of my work was centered on health data. I'm really passionate about privacy and working in social media today because it's such a big part of how we're interacting with our friends, with businesses. It's also so interesting because it's shifted the business landscape too. Now businesses see the value of catering to a broader demographic because social media has been a huge part of driving that change. So really passionate about how we can better support our users and also really design a system that's very inclusive of what our users need.
When it comes to privacy, the main word that I focus on is empathy. Not everyone walks around thinking about privacy all day like I do. Most of the people I interact with, they have their own priorities, their deadlines, their stressors. So I try to meet them where they're at and empathize with their viewpoint, which really helps to create stronger partnerships and a much more productive workflow.
I would say my motto is being aware of my environment, understanding how my interactions, my structure to privacy impacts the ecosystem within TikTok, but also understanding our users, the environment that they're in, understanding how other apps might impact how information is digested or even developed on our social media app. It's really that intersection, that environment that plays such an interesting role for me as a privacy professional.
Something I always say is know your why. If you're a business, it's the question of what problem are we trying to solve? And from there, I think privacy and data protection becomes a much easier task. I think know your why also applies to privacy professionals and why it is that you're doing this work, because that's what's going to keep you motivated and reorient you to what's important.
So when people think about the word privacy or the concept of privacy, I think they think about compliance with laws and regulations. What I think it is really about customer and consumer trust. You know, a lot of the stuff that we do as chief privacy officers is to help companies comply with laws. But it really is our job, too, to make sure that the business is making sure that they're providing their consumers and their customers with rights to their data. And I think that's really incredibly important.
People will smile when they hear this because it's very true for me, which is keep it simple. I think it's really important to keep things simple. And I think the other one is to just be humble. Don't be afraid to revisit prior positions, to iterate, and then to drive to creative solutions.
I think some of the biggest changes I've seen has been this evolution of the chief privacy officer role being just a legal or kind of lawyer-based role into a role that's expanded into various backgrounds. Again, I'm not a lawyer, for example, but I've seen folks from product, from audit, from engineering become privacy leaders, and I love that about our industry.
Having been in the unique positions that I've been in and have the opportunities I've had, both leading the privacy program and scaling it at Coinbase and then again at Kohler, you know, I've seen stuff, right? And so I've been able to kind of have to think about what does it mean for a company at any growth stage to manage privacy, be that a startup, be that preparing to go public, be that a legacy brand with massive global operations.
I mentioned that awareness within the public has really shifted, but I would say that the same goes within the business. When I first started in privacy full-time, nobody saw this as a real job. It was challenging to convince someone that this was even a field. So, what is that? That's not for us. Now, everyone is very well aware that there are privacy issues, and it's not uncommon for something to come along and someone who's not me, which is great, to ask, well, what about the privacy here?
I think privacy is expanded and elevated. In so many ways, the role of privacy professionals has expanded to cover so much new ground, whether it's privacy, data protection, cybersecurity, AI governance. There are so many things within our remit that we're quite a bit more responsible for quite a bit more things. And I think as well, the role of privacy professionals is elevated. General counsels now often are data protection officers or folks taking on greater data-related responsibilities. And as more companies become AI companies, right, the businesses themselves are fundamentally data-driven, and that puts privacy professionals in quite a bit of a bigger position of responsibility, but also in a sort of bigger picture position of thinking about design and product development more broadly.
Most folks think that it's a roadblock to business, whereas I think we are really there to help enable the business, to provide business value. And I think that executive teams need to better leverage us in that way.
It may be easy to see privacy as a cost center, a compliance checkbox, another process to deal with. But when you think big picture, privacy is ultimately a point of competitive differentiation. It's how to set yourself apart at the level of values and design philosophy. I think another area where folks may get things wrong on privacy, as I said earlier, is privacy is not a process to be inserted. It's a philosophy to undergird all it is that you're doing. So in the same way we think about design, privacy is a design philosophy, not a process to be inserted into a particular form of design.
I think oftentimes, and this is something I'm often pushing against, is that companies view privacy as a compliance thing. They view it as you just got to check the box and move on to be able to do what you want to do. And they don't realize that, and particularly for data-driven companies, companies that are engaging in the production of connected products, companies that are managing a lot of personal information, like fintech companies, oftentimes companies aren't really realizing that this can be a business enabler and a differentiator for the consumers or the end users.
I think the hardest part about being a privacy professional is that a lot of our wins are invisible. We are preventing bad things from happening, and that is really hard to measure. So I think that as a privacy professional, it's so important to have both qualitative and quantitative win factors. Maybe that's a faster incident response rate, maybe shorter legal review times, and also speaking to what was prevented, looking at competitors and some of the pitfalls that they've had. Presenting both those sets of data to your senior leadership who maybe aren't privacy professionals, maybe they are, sitting in a tech position, will be really valuable to show how we're making the organization more efficient and more effective.
When it comes to risk surrounding AI in this field, the first thing that has to happen is educating staff and the various stakeholders within the business. I think that a lot of the people who are in positions to make decisions don't necessarily always even understand what AI is and what AI is not, or that it's not necessarily new. My spam filter is AI. That kind of education is paramount in making sure that an organization knows what the real risks are and how to proceed.
While AI may be changing weekly, daily, hourly, privacy and data protection doesn't. The values that underpin this work are values that are going to continue regardless of the technological forms that sit on top of it. And putting data protection and privacy at the center of AI governance, I think, is core to our responsibility in improving these systems and protecting users.
When it comes to AI, there's obviously a lot of privacy risk involved. And the things that privacy pros are doing are things like ensuring that training data is being collected with user consent. For example, we're also making sure that products using AI are reviewed from a privacy perspective. So we're really there supporting the teams implementing AI and making sure that they're doing it responsibly.
I think it's important to pause before you act. And so take that deep breath. And I think figuratively here, right? We know there's new technology. We know people are running amok with it, but they are today, they were yesterday, and they probably will tomorrow. So let's take a breath and figure out, what are we going to do that feels deliberate, meaningful, and efficient, and get to the goals that we need to get to. I think in the past 10 plus years or so, we've started to see this need for privacy lawyers to also be deeply competent on the technical side, both with regards to how technology works, but then to also understand the clients they're supporting and how their products tick. And so it's not enough to just be a very good lawyer. So I would encourage everybody to read, to pick up books, to make friends in cyber security in their network that are cyber professionals, and just kind of hone that expertise alongside their legal one.
I think the one piece of advice I'd give to folks that are just entering privacy is it's not just about compliance. It really is about building relationships with the people that you support. So whether that's, marketing or product or engineering, relationships are what's going to help you succeed in this business.
The piece of advice that I would give to anyone entering this field is that it doesn't really matter what angle you come at it from. You could be in a technical or non-technical field. And in fact, sometimes having one or the other is also a complete advantage. It means that you have something to bring. What I'm seeing is that all our problems are so multifaceted. We have so many different minds coming around the table for one amazing solution. For me, I always tell people to learn from a network. That's a really supportive environment, whether it be IPP, which has incredible conferences, or perhaps even bloggers like Ron, who are so great at distilling very complicated information into the so what, which I absolutely love. I think that those resources and diving in with a lot of confidence and excitement in the field will just take you to great places.
For many people in privacy, there are different personal experiences, lived experiences that bring us here. And I think what's important is to remember is those experiences what will keep you here and what will motivate you to keep going. We get to build new ways of being, new ways of thinking. And the way that you do that is by living authentically and honoring what brought you here in the first place.
For young people looking to enter into this field, I think the very first thing they need to do is to listen and learn. I do that as much as I can now. I don't think there will ever be a point in my career where I'm not looking around and trying to learn from all of the people around me. It will make you so much better if you can take a step back and just soak in all of the knowledge. And the other big piece of advice is that they shouldn't get in their own way. This profession needs those new voices. We won't survive, we won't thrive, we won't grow without those new perspectives. So for a young person entering, I think it's so important for them to realize that not only are they welcome here, but they're needed here.
I live authentically. I show up authentically, and I have a drive to build community. And I think beyond just building community, it's about letting ladders down. I think so many in our community and many communities, once they are represented, once they've sort of reached, their goals, the ladders are pulled up. And if you truly care about the future of privacy and data protection, we need a bigger and greater generation to take on this work and do it meaningfully.
Yeah, I think a lot of the folks that have been identified on this list for Next Gen Voices are people that are charting new paths for privacy. So one of the things I often talk about is how privacy requirements aren't a rubber stamp. And as we continue to see evolution and innovation of technology, we continue to be presented with more and more complex privacy challenges. And in order for privacy professionals to contend with them, they have to be willing to look at it a different way and to think about it differently.
I'm just so excited to be part of this Next Gen initiative. I think it is so cool that we're bringing all these fresh and new perspectives. I also think we're at such an interesting moment of change in the world of privacy. It's really an inflection point. So I think that Next Gen is looking to capture that inflection point.
There are so many unbelievably brilliant people in this space, and I wake up every day and I'm so grateful that I get to work alongside the people that I do. We've obviously had incredible leaders that have come before for us to look up to and learn from, but as our space evolves, we also need to create new room for new voices and new perspectives so that our profession can continue to thrive. And I am just unbelievably grateful to be here and to get to share mine.